Hello, I'm Edward Hudgins.
And I'm Will Thomas.
And this is the Atlas Society State of the Culture Update.
Today, Ed, I'd like to talk about why it is that conservatives seem to think that we've got to have religion. There's a really striking example of this in a new article that the conservative commentator George Will has written. The article's called Religion and the American Republic, and it was recently published in National Affairs. And in it, Will makes really just this classic argument, a conservative argument, that we need religion. And it's kind of sad because one of the things notable about the article is that Will himself confesses in that article that he's not religious. He says he's one of those people with no religious affiliation. And in fact, he goes on to say that it's possible to argue for natural rights to individual liberty, like those in the Declaration of Independence, without making any appeal to religion. And he says it's possible for people to be good citizens without having a religion.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting article. He emphasizes that America's founders, very secular founders, not only wanted a separation of church and state, but they saw as a major political goal to have a separation of the realm of politics from civil society. But then he turns around and says that today non-religious people should have an affinity for religion because in civil society today, religion promotes Republican virtues such as industriousness, self-control, moderation, and responsibility.
And that's kind of an amazing thing for him to argue, that you have to have religion to have these virtues, which secular people have virtues too. Why, George Will himself embodies quite a few of those virtues. And it's not news. Ayn Rand explained how much we need to base an ethics on the objective facts in Atlas Shrugged, written 50 years ago, and she was developing an argument that was originally put forward by Aristotle over 2,000 years ago.
Look, that's right, Will. I mean, look, fortunately, America's breed of religion has, in fact, tended to promote just those virtues that George Will discusses. But America's founders were very aware of the tyranny and the horrors of religious warfare that had drenched Europe in blood for centuries, similar to what's going on in the Middle East today. You know, that's why America's founders were so valued the culture of the Enlightenment, and especially the notion of reason as a foundation for a civil society rather than faith. You know, it's interesting because in the article, Will goes on to say that progressives are wrong to try to separate or to try to combine the realm of politics with civil society, that they therefore favor big government. But it's just the religious conservatives today, the religious right in the Republican Party especially, that wants to break down that separation and use government to promote a religious agenda.
You know, given that fact, Ed, it is really strange that Will is still defending the need for religion in order for people to be ethical. But in the article, he explains his view, and it seems like he's just making a classic conservative mistake of separating spiritual values from the material world. Well, Will seems to think that either you're religious or you live in an empty, meaningless world. But nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is that if you choose life and you choose to seek happiness, then the world is full of values for you to pursue. It's full of a kind of exciting adventure of trying to make the most of who you can be and making the best friends and doing the best work. So it's an extremely rich and value-laden experience. And furthermore, you need moral principles in that circumstance. And it's sort of doubly sad that Will is making this argument because one of the people that he discusses in the essay is George Washington. And he explains that George Washington wasn't particularly religious. But George Washington was famous for his moral rectitude. He was famous as a man of honor. And George Washington was really a hero. And no one seems to be saying, and Will isn't saying in this essay, that George Washington would have been a better hero or he would have been more moral if he'd been religious. That's just not the case.
Yeah, look, Will is right that a republic requires a moral underpinning. But what I would add is that non-religious folks today should promote the values of individual happiness and flourishing, and they should give rational, secular arguments for freedom and for liberty. And I wish George Will had gone there and done more of that. Anyway, this has been the Atlas Society State of the Culture Update. I thank you for listening.